Welcome to the deep dive, where we take your source material, roll up our sleeves, and really dig into it to unearth those unexpected nuggets of wisdom and insight.
We're here to help you navigate information, find the core ideas, and maybe see things in a slightly different, perhaps, more profound light.
And today we are jumping into a really fascinating narrative from ancient texts, specifically excerpts from the Dhammapada commentary. It centers around the story of a woman named Cūḷasubhaddā.
Yeah, it starts simply enough, looks like a marriage arrangement story, but it quickly unfolds into this deep exploration of what true virtue looks like.
And how faith can, travel great distances.
Exactly. And what it means for certain people to be truly visible or impactful, while others, even people right there, remain essentially unseen. It's quite profound.
Our mission in this deep dive is to guide you through this rich story, highlighting the key moments, the surprising twists. Yes, there are flying flowers involved, and the powerful teaching from the Buddha that's really at the heart of it all. Ready to dive in?
Okay, let's start at the beginning. It all goes back to a friendship made in youth. Two young men studying under the same teacher.
Right. Anathapindika, who many will know as a chief patron of the Buddha from Savatthi, and this other man, Uga, a merchant from Uganagara.
They were close friends, the text says, and while they were students, they made this significant pact, a kind of future family alliance, you could say.
What was the pact exactly?
Well, they agreed that if later in life they both had kids of marriageable age specifically, one had a son, the other a daughter, they'd arrange for the daughter to marry the other son if the request was made.
Ah, okay. So fast forward, time passes, they both grow up, become successful merchants, wealthy, established in their cities, and then one day, Oga the merchant travels to Savatthi.
And he arrives with quite the entourage. A large caravan, the source makes a point of noting 500 carts worth of goods. So a major visit.
Wow. So Anathapindika, remembering their old friendship, calls his daughter Cūළasubhaddā.
Right. And he tells her, look, my friend Uga is here, and taking care of his needs, well, that's your responsibility now.
And Cūළasubhaddā really steps up, doesn't she? The text emphasizes her diligence.
Absolutely. From day one, she personally oversees everything for him, preparing meals, soups, arranging his bath, even things like garlands and perfumes, just total care.
She attended to all his needs with real dedication.
And this conduct, her attentiveness, it makes a strong impression on Uga. He sees her qualities firsthand.
Okay, so Uga's been observing Cūළasubhaddā, he's impressed, and one day he's chatting with Anathapindika.
Having a pleasant conversation, the text says. And he remembers that pact they made way back when they were students.
And he brings it up.
He does. He formally asks for Cūළasubhadda's hand in marriage for his son. But this is where a really critical detail comes in. It adds immediate complexity.
Yes, but it's quite specific here. It says Uga was by nature someone with wrong views.
Right. And in this context, that essentially means his basic understanding of things like ethics, karma, spiritual liberation. It wasn't aligned with the Buddha's teachings. It likely followed other traditions of the time.
So this isn't just a minor difference of opinion.
Not at all. It's fundamental. And because of this, Anathapindika doesn't just say, sure, old friend, based on our pact. No, the text says he first goes and consults the Buddha, the 10-powered one, as he's referred to here.
And what does the Buddha say, given Uga's wrong views?
Well, the Buddha, with his deep insight, sees something in Uga, a potential, an upanishaya. Despite the current views, the Buddha perceives this underlying readiness, a capacity to understand the Dhamma down the line.
Ah, interesting. So based on that potential.
Based on that potential, the Buddha actually proves the marriage.
Okay. So with the Buddha's blessing, Anathapindika goes back, talks to his wife, accepts Uga's proposal, and they set a date.
And he prepares for Cūළasubhadda's departure with great honor. The text even compares it to how another famous disciple, Visakha, was sent off by her father.
He also gives Cūළasubhaddā advice, right? 10 points.
Yes, echoing the advice given to Visakha. And one line really stands out, especially for living with in-laws. Fire from within is not to be carried outside.
What does that mean exactly, fire from within?
It's basically a symbolic way of saying, don't bring internal family disputes or problems from your new home out into the public sphere. Keep family matters private, within the family walls. Sound advice, really.
Definitely. And Anathapindika takes another step to protect her too, doesn't he? With guarantors.
He does. He appoints 8 family members, Kumbhaik, to act as guarantors.
And their job was?
Fascinatingly specific. If any fault was found with Cūḷasubhaddā in her new home without a valid reason that Karanina dose, then they, the guarantors, were responsible for stepping in and clearing her name.
Wow, that's quite a safety net. It shows he knew she might face challenges because of the difference in views.
Exactly. So, on the day she leaves, Anathapindika holds a great offering for the Buddha and the monks. The source describes her send-off as being done with such immense honor, it was like he was showing the world the fruits of her past good deeds, her good karma.
All right, so Cūළasubhaddā arrives in Uganagara. She gets a welcome from the townspeople and her new in-laws.
And showing her good qualities, perhaps following Jasaka's example again, she enters the city, standing on her chariot, exchanging gifts with the citizens. The text says she sort of unified the whole city with her good qualities right from the start.
But that harmony doesn't last long, does it? Because of the father-in-law's views.
Right. The conflict baked into the situation surfaces quickly. The source notes that on auspicious days, her father-in-law, Uga, would honor these naked ascetics, as Lakanan.
Okay. And he expects Cūළasubhaddā to join in.
He sends word for her. Come and pay homage to our aesthetics.
And she?
She refuses, flat out. Her reason, the source says, is her modesty or shame lajjaya. She says she couldn't bring herself to look at naked people.
Which is more than just about nudity, isn't it? It's a statement about what she considers proper spiritual practice.
Precisely. It's a clash over what constitutes genuine purity and asceticism. He insists, sends for her again and again. She refuses again.
And he gets angry.
Very angry. He declares, cast her out.
But this is where her father's foresight kicks in, the guarantors.
Exactly. Cūළasubhaddā, knowing she's done nothing wrong from her perspective, immediately summons those 8 guarantors her father appointed.
And she explains what happened.
Yes, she lays out the situation clearly, stating, essentially, you can't just accuse me of fault without a real reason. The guarantors see she's blameless in this refusal.
So they manage to calm the father-in-law down.
They do, they pacify him. But the incident leaves a mark. The father-in-law complains to his wife, Cūළasubhaddá's mother-in-law, saying their daughter-in-law wouldn't bow to his ascetics because she found them, quote, shameless, ahirikari.
Okay, and this sparks something in the mother-in-law, right?
Yes, exactly. This is the turning point that leads to the core teaching. Cūළasubhaddá's mother-in-law is now curious. She's heard her daughter-in-law praise her own ascetics, presumably the Buddha and his monks, and now this confrontation happens.
She wants to understand the difference. Why Cūළasubhaddā holds her own tradition in such high regard.
Precisely. She wants to know what Cūළasubhaddā values so highly. So she summons her and asks directly. The source gives us her words, something like, what are your ascetics like? You praise them so much. What is their virtue? What is their conduct? Tell me, now that I'm asking you.
And this gives Cūළasubhaddā the perfect chance to explain, to describe the qualities of the Buddha and his disciples from her perspective.
It is. And she paints this vivid picture of what she sees as true virtue. She starts by describing their inner state, calm senses, calm minds, santindriya santamanasa.
So inner peace is key.
Absolutely. And their outward behavior reflects that. They're walking, they're standing, it's all calm and composed.
Santate sekadaita. They keep their eyes downcast. They speak moderately. It sounds like a description of mindfulness and restraint.
Very much so. And their actions are pure. Pure bodily action, kaya kamasuchi, undefiled verbal action, bhakavan nevale, and very purified mental action, manokamasuvisote.
Body, speech, and mind, the classic triad.
Exactly. She uses this beautiful imagery saying they are spotless, pure inside and out, like a perfectly polished conch shell or a pearl, filled entirely with pure teachings.
Wow, that's quite a contrast to the shamelessness she perceived earlier.
Immense contrast.
Yeah.
But maybe the most powerful part of her description is how she portrays their relationship to the world, their stability.
How so?
She explains how they're completely unmoved by the ups and downs that throw most people off balance. You know, the world gets elated by gain, lava, and depressed by loss, lalakaya. But these virtuous ones, they remain steady, equal, ekata, in both.
Okay, so gain and loss don't move them. What else?
Fame, yasa, and disrepute, ayasa. The world chases fame, dreads scandal, but they are equanimous, stable through both.
Praise, pasasa, and blame, ninda.
Same thing. While others are lifted by praise and crushed by blame, they remain equal, sama, in the face of both.
And finally, happiness and suffering.
Right. Happiness, sukha, pulls people up. Suffering, dukkha, drags them down. But these individuals, she says, are unshaken, unmoving akampa, through pleasure and pain.
That's a powerful description of inner freedom and resilience.
It really is, and it focuses entirely on internal qualities, purity, calmness, equanimity, rather than external appearances or practices. And the source tells us this description deeply pleased her mother-in-law.
So the mother-in-law is impressed, maybe even inspired. What happens next?
Well, she's more than pleased. She's intrigued. She asks Cūළasubhaddā, is it possible for me to actually see these amazing ascetics you just described?
Can you show them to me?
Essentially, yes. And Cūළasubhaddā confidently says, yes, it is possible. The mother-in-law urges her, then please make it happen.
Okay, but the Buddha and his monks are in Jetavana, which the text later says is 200 yojanas away. That's a huge distance. How is this going to work?
This is where the story takes that really remarkable, almost magical turn. Cūළasubhaddā prepares a great offering, food, incense, everything, as if the Buddha and the Sangha were right there.
Even though they're hundreds of miles away.
Exactly. Then she goes to the upper floor of her palace, faces the direction of Jetavana Monastery, and pays deep homage, a 5-point prostration.
Okay, showing respect.
Deep respect.
Yeah.
She reflects on the Buddha's qualities, his wisdom, compassion, purity. She makes an offering of incense, perfumes, flowers, fragrant smoke. And then comes the signal.
The signal.
As a way to convey her invitation across that vast distance, she takes 8 handfuls of jasmine flowers.
8 handfuls.
And throws them into the air towards Jetavana, making a mental resolve, asking the Buddha to understand that this act, these flowers, are her invitation for the next day's meal.
And don't leave us hanging.
And astonishingly, the source tells us these flowers traveled through the air, all 200 yojanas.
No way.
Yes. They flew through the air and formed a beautiful canopy, like a floral ceiling, right over the Buddha's head as he was in the middle of teaching the Dhamma to the assembly in Jetavana.
Wow. Okay, so imagine the scene back in Jetavana. Flowers appear out of nowhere and form a canopy over the Buddha. And Asapika is there, right? Cūළasubhadda's father.
He is. He's right there, listening to the Buddha's talk. And at that very moment, completely unaware of the flower incident yet, he also invites the Buddha for the next day's meal, standard practice for a chief patron.
And the Buddha says?
The Buddha replies, Gahapati, I have already accepted the meal for tomorrow.
Which must have confused Anathapika greatly.
Absolutely. He's surprised. He asks, but Bhante, Venerable Sir, who invited you before me?
And the Buddha reveals.
The Buddha states plainly, Gahapati, I have been invited by Cūළasubhaddā.
Anathapika must have been completely astonished.
Totally. The text highlights his reaction. He points out the obvious logistical impossibility. Bhante, Cūළasubhaddā lives far away from here, at the utmost distance, 200 yojanas.
He's thinking, how could she possibly have invited you?
Exactly. And the Buddha uses this precise moment, this seemingly impossible connection across space, triggered by Cūළasubhadda's faith and virtue, to deliver the central teaching of this entire story. He confirms the distance, saying, yes, Gahapati, it is far. But, he continues, good people, Sapurisa, even staying far away, appear manifest, clear, as if they are standing right here in front.
And then he recites the verse that captures this whole idea.
Yes, this powerful verse, which is really the takeaway. Good people, even from afar, are manifest, like the Himalayas mountain.
Those who are not good, even if they are here, are not seen, like arrows shot into the night.
So this verse is the core insight, isn't it? This contrast between those who are spiritually seen or manifest and those who aren't, regardless of physical location.
Yeah, it's striking. The commentary helps unpack who falls into each category, right? Who are these good people, the Santa?
Right. The commentary clarifies. Initially, Santa can mean enlightened beings like Buddhas, whose defilements are calmed, Santa. But here, in this specific story's context, it refers more broadly to individuals who've cultivated significant positive potential over time.
Like Cūළasubhaddā herself.
Exactly. People who have made aspirations under previous Buddhas, who have abundant roots of merit, basically they've done a lot of good deeds, built up good karma, and crucially, they have developed meditation or spiritual cultivation.
So it's about past actions and present cultivation.
Yes. These are the ones who are manifest, Pakasenti, who appear clear and visible, even from far away. And the key reason they are manifest is that they come within the range of the Buddha's deep spiritual knowledge, his insight.
The Himalayas analogy helps visualize that.
It does. The commentary notes the sheer scale of the Himalayas. Huge, towering, thousands of peaks. Even when you're very far away, you can see the Himalayas. They are undeniably there, manifest, seeming almost close because of their immense presence. That's how these good people are to the Buddha's knowledge, visible due to their inner size or substance.
Precisely. Now, on the flip side, who are those who are not good? The asanta.
The ones who aren't seen, even if they're right there.
Yes. The commentary lists a few types. Foolish individuals, balapugala, those without wisdom. Those who are heavily attached to just this present life, dethangaruga, focused only on immediate experiences and gains.
Like ignoring future consequences.
Right, those who have dismissed the afterlife, fitiapaliko, who don't consider the results of their actions beyond this life. Those whose eyes are fixed only on material gain, abhisakakuka.
And it even mentions some who might look religious.
Yes, significantly. It includes those who have ordained, become monks or nuns, purely for the sake of livelihood, jivataka babahita, not for genuine spiritual reasons.
So even if these people, these asanta, are physically sitting right next to the Buddha, say, at his knee.
The commentary is stark. They are not seen, they are not understood. Nadisantina panyanti.
Like arrows shot into the dark. That's a vivid image.
It is. You shoot an arrow into pitch blackness. You know it went somewhere, but you can't see it, you can't track it, you can't find it. There's no light to reveal it.
So these individuals aren't perceived or understood spiritually because they lack that inner light, that foundation.
Exactly. The commentary says they lack the necessary precondition, the potential, that same word, upanisaya. This foundation comes from previous good deeds, cultivated merit, developed understanding. Without it, they aren't receptive, they aren't visible to that deeper insight, no matter how close they are physically. It's about inner readiness, not physical presence.
Okay, so the Buddha has accepted Cūḷasubhadda's invitation, signaled by those amazing flying flowers. But how does he actually get there? 200 yojanas is still a long way.
Right, the practicalities. The story continues in a quite extraordinary way. Saka, the king of the devas, the celestial beings, knows the Buddha accepted the invitation.
So she steps in.
He does. He orders the divine architect, the Deva Visvakama, to create suitable transport for the Buddha and his monks.
And Visvakama creates.
Something pretty spectacular. 500 magnificent mansion-like residences, Cūḷasubhaddā. Think divine flying palaces, basically, to transport the Buddha and the Sangha to Ukanagra the next day. Visvakama makes them and presents them at the gate of Jetavana.
Wow. So the Buddha doesn't just walk.
Not this time. And the Buddha carefully selects who travels with him. 500 monks who are Visuddhasava, pure, perfected ones, arahants, completely free from defilements. He travels with this elite retinue in these celestial mansions.
What must that have looked like arriving in Ukanagra?
Incredible, surely. Ugasithi, the father-in-law, remember, and his family were watching the path, just as Cūḷasubhaddā had told them to, and they witnessed this truly awe-inspiring arrival. The Buddha and his monks descending in these radiant divine structures.
That must have had quite an impact on Uga, the man with the wrong views.
A profound impact. Seeing this manifestation of spiritual power and splendor filled him with faith instantly. He receives the Buddha and the Sangha with deep respect, makes offerings, bows down, and hosts them with a great meal.
And not just one meal.
No, he was so moved, so filled with faith, that he continued to invite them and provide a great offering, a feast, for 7 consecutive days.
And during this time, the Buddha teaches him.
Yes. The Buddha, seeing Uga's newfound faith and recognizing what would be most beneficial sapaya for his spiritual progress now, teaches him the Dhamma.
And the result.
The result was immediate and immense. The teaching resonated so deeply that, starting with Uga himself, it led to the realization of the Dhamma, a profound spiritual awakening, like achieving the first stage of enlightenment for 84,000 living beings in that city.
84,000, that's incredible, all sparked by this sequence of events.
It's a massive transformation. And to ensure this newfound faith in the community was supported and nurtured after he left.
Yes.
The Buddha asked the elder Anuruddha, one of his chief disciples, particularly known for his divine eye or clairvoyance, to remain there in Ukanagra for a while when the Buddha returned to Savatthi.
To provide ongoing guidance.
Exactly. And the source concludes by saying that from that time onwards, Uganagara, the city that was home to a merchant initially defined by his wrong views, became completely transformed. It became full of faith and devotion, all originating from Cūḷasubhadda's quiet virtue, her unwavering faith, and that seemingly impossible invitation.
So when we really unpack this story of Cūļasubhaddā, this deep dive shows it's so much more than just a tale about a marriage and some family drama.
Oh, absolutely. It's this powerful narrative that really illustrates the stark contrast between external appearances, like the naked ascetics, and genuine inner virtue, like Cūļasubhaddā described in the Buddha's disciples.
It shows that true spiritual substance isn't about outward show at all, is it? It's about cultivating those deep inner qualities, calmness, purity, wisdom.
And it demonstrates the extraordinary reach of that cultivated goodness. Faith and merit, symbolized by those, frankly amazing flying flowers, can literally bridge vast physical distances to connect with profound spiritual knowledge.
And at the very heart of it is that verse, isn't it? The Santa, the good people, being manifest even from afar, like the Himalayas.
While the asanta, those lacking those qualities, are unseen even when they're physically right there, like arrows lost in the night.
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? In our own lives, in the world we see around us, what are the qualities that truly make a person visible or impactful in the most meaningful sense?
Yeah, and this story strongly suggests it's not about fame or noise or how close you are to perceived centers of power or influence.
It seems to be about cultivating that inner mountain, those deep roots of merit, ethical conduct, inner peace, wisdom. That's what makes a person truly seen, truly manifest, in a way that transcends physical distance and frankly superficial appearances.
So, maybe a thought to mull over is, when you think about the people who genuinely stand out in your own life, the ones whose presence you feel strongly, why is that? Is it their loudness, their proximity? Or is it something deeper, something more like Cūļasubhaddā's quiet virtue that feels visible no matter where they are? Something to consider.